Chapter 13, Hard Choices.
One day bled into the next, and the months followed, in a life that was consistently the same, dull and desolate. World of politicians, finances, debates, formal social events, and the need to project a professional image. That wasn't my world. I was lonely in my home, and I missed Hannah. 1 year has passed since the attack and my disgraceful departure from the Vigil family. I wasn't left with any scars, except emotional ones. Unsuccessfully, I tried to reconnect with the Vigil family on a few occasions, and I was ready to pretend like nothing happened to get that friendship back. On the other hand, I didn't even consider contacting that friendship was out of the question now that I was back living and working for my family. Plus, my father's negative experience with his second wife, who was from her family, made me even more hesitant about continuing our friendship, if I could even call it that. Personally, I didn't blame her for something that one of her members did years ago, and I never truly understood what happened on that day or why it happened, as I was a child. But still, after so much time, it was a very sensitive topic, so I pretended she was just someone I met during my work at the Vigil estate. So many times I wished I were like my Uncle Leon, able to go anywhere I wanted. He dodged a bullet when he didn't inherit the leadership. I envied him and hoped the same would happen to me. My father, understandably, confined me to the complex for most of my youth, only allowing me to leave for business. After everything our family had been through, I couldn't blame him. However, even when I was a grown woman, his control over my movements remained just as tight. In one of my attempts to see Hannah, I sneaked into our garage, careful not to be seen. I drove a striking blue coupe with a blacked-out hood and roof, front end dominated by a large grille and slim headlights, giving it a sporty look. It was my baby, custom-made, and I preferred it to our official cars. The garage door slowly rose as my fingers tapped on the leather steering wheel, with my head craned forward to see the exit sooner. We had an agreement. My father's voice infiltrated my brain the moment my blue car left the garage. "It's already been a year, Father. Repairing that relationship can be beneficial to all of us," I said, continuing to drive towards the main door of our complex as I had planned. "They treated you poorly. They don't deserve your presence. If you insist on going, they'll pay the price." His words were cold-hearted with no room for discussion. I slammed on the brakes and yelled, "This family," hitting my steering wheel, vibrations traveling through my palms. How is he managing to stop me from seeing Hannah every single time? The whole complex was like a big live group chat thanks to our power. No matter what I did, my father knew everything that was going on in our complex. With that, all my efforts were in vain. I tried for months to sneak out, but I couldn't do it without angering my father, which I didn't want to do once again. Eventually, I got the invitation that made me rip that paper in half. Hannah got engaged to a man from the Gilgamesh family, 24 years older than her. Ridiculous. He got himself a reputation, and that's how I already knew him. His name was Rak, and he always found a way to become one of the topics on the big council my father led. He had exceptional strength, like one of his brothers, but seemed to have a problem with self-control and explosiveness. On top of that, he was promiscuous and knew well how to charm ladies. This can't be good for her. They were total opposites, and I couldn't help but get at least a bit worried. I knew Tempus wanted to make his family stronger, and I bet the engagement was purely political. Freaking 24 years. What are they thinking? With that news, I was determined like never before to find a way to reach her. I can never allow that kind of guy to end up with her. I managed to send a letter in hopes we could meet in secret, but I wasn't optimistic. To my surprise, I got a response 2 weeks later with a set date and place. It took me 3 days to figure out how to trick my family into thinking it was work-related, but I did it. I parked quite far from where we were supposed to meet and followed a narrow trail. It was a secluded place with no one around for at least a few kilometers. There she is. A long skirt fell to her casual sneakers, while her wavy hair cascaded down a sleeveless brown knitted vest. She still looked like the old Hannah I knew. She lowered her head as I came closer, her hair falling over her face. Bowing to me. This feels weird, absurd. At first glance, everything seemed fine, and as I expected, we pretended like the incident 1 year ago didn't even happen as we exchanged a caring smile. We both carried some shame and regret from that day, which stopped us from even starting that subject, cleverly leaving it in the past. Did you have an opportunity to meet him? I asked, unsure what to think. Yes, we met a couple of times, she said somewhat disappointedly, but still keeping a smile on her face. And how do you feel about it? Are you sure about this? You can still call it off, I blurted out the question, eager for an answer. There was a reason why families arranged mixed marriages. Let me give you an example. If a couple has different power genes, their child can only inherit one. However, if the couple has more kids, the family line can become more diverse and powerful. Similarly, Mai's family strategically formed alliances with other powerful families, which benefited their line of work. Even though it sounds great, it was rare for the main branch to choose that kind of marriage because they wanted to keep the main bloodline as pure as they could. And taking into account that Hannah didn't possess the gene, it meant most of their kids, if not all, would inherit Rack's gene. I know what you think. Of course, I would like someone younger, she shrugged. But he is very manly, and I think I will feel safe around him. Her umbrella popped open as light rain started to fall, causing her hair to become frizzy, which she uselessly tried to smooth down. You know my family is not in a good place lately, and my siblings are still too young to take over. I should take the responsibility. No, you have a choice, I shook my head. Your father is still the head of the family. I know they would listen if you, but I made my choice, she said, her speech becoming faster. I thought you would at least understand. I know why Mai has a hard time understanding the whole situation. Her family is different, and she is. Wait, my palm shot forward in a commanding motion. You saw Mai? I asked, my voice rising as my eyes popped open. Yes, she came to see me a few days ago. She told me how Rack is different from how he seems to be, but I don't care. We need someone who is headstrong in the family. My father is being controlled by everyone, and it has put us in danger so many times. If I need to marry for political reasons to protect what is left of my family, I will. I'm doing this, it's already decided, she said, a diamond on her ring finger a clear proof of that. The rain was coming down harder and harder, and my high heels started to sink into the mud as I stood there dressed in my bluish formal suit that was getting darker by the second. I wasn't thrilled with what I'd heard, so I didn't care if I got a little wet. Downpours were nothing unusual for that time of year. The beginning of summer was always unpredictable. But Hannah, if Mai said that, I stopped for a moment, her umbrella coming over my head, offering me some cover from the heavy rain. She still cares. You know she is not the type of person who shares information lightly. I looked straight into her eyes, softening my voice. I also think you should think about it some more. No matter what happened in the past, I know we still consider each other as friends. I'm sure she is just overly protective of me. Just like that day, her voice became quieter. None of us is perfect, so I can't expect Rack to be either. I was relieved that she still saw me as a friend after everything that happened, but something else was weighing on my mind. Don't only focus on his good sides, I just have a bad feeling because his character is the polar opposite of yours. I also heard some things. Do you know what I heard about you lately? It's better if I don't say, she chuckled, reminding me of some warmer days. Maybe we shouldn't believe everything people say. You didn't even meet him, but still, you have so many things to say about him. Okay, you have a point, but everything will be fine. If something goes wrong, I always have two of you to have my back, she said, smiling. My eyes narrowed, questioning her, but the thought was fleeting. A sigh barely disturbed the air as I gently took the umbrella from her, allowing her hand to finally rest. I can give it a try and talk to your father. There are different ways to approach this. Cupid, NYX, or Komori would be a better match for you, even the Buzan family. I know I'm repeating myself, but you can still change your mind. Pulled by her hand, her gaze fell onto the watch she wore as a necklace. It was essentially a pocket watch with a beautifully engraved Vigil crest on the top cover. Maybe I should go now, you know how my mother is. Sadly, I know. Looks like she made up her mind. Please, if you need anything, contact me first. Take care, Hannah, I said with all my heart as her umbrella fell to the side, and the short hug that felt unnatural left me empty. We both have changed, matured, and started to feel the pressure of our responsibilities. I'm sure she felt it, too. The heaviness.
A few days before, Mai came to the Vigil estate straight after her work and rang the bell wearing her uniform. To the sound of the lock, she quickly lifted her sunglasses onto her head. The door swung open, and Eris went straight to the point. Lady Mai, did you hear about the happy news? About engagement? Yes, she confirmed, her expression unreadable. I'm sorry for my excitement. Eris covered her mouth, smiling. You are probably here to see Hannah. She is in her room, first floor, second door to the left, she said, almost singing. Mai proceeded inside, shortly greeting the staff and the twins, who succeeded in drawing a smile from her that was soon wiped away. With a fixed gaze, she gradually walked up the wooden stairs until she stopped in front of Hannah's room. Her strong forearm stopped mid-reach before a successful double knock. Hannah, it's Mai, she said loudly. The door snapped open, and Hannah's ecstatic face peeked through. Mai, it's been so long. Her face, fresh as the morning sun, beamed at her friend. Yes, it's been almost a year since we last saw each other. Invited by Hannah, she stepped in, her eyes meticulously assessing every inch of her new environment. Oh, this is your first time in my room, she said, following Mai. You have a lot of books. With her hands in her pockets, she walked slowly, stopping at shelves that caught her attention. I like to read books and collect them. You always spent a lot of time studying, but now you won't need to anymore. She turned to her, her hands still in her pockets. You will be a housewife soon. Why wouldn't I read and learn while being a housewife? I think it will be even more exciting. Without all that pressure to do it, she looked at Mai with a loving face. I guess you are right. She pointed to the bed. Is it okay if I sit here? No problem at all. Hannah showed her a cute smile. I'm so glad you are here. I'm here to talk about Rack, Mai stated bluntly, placing her sunglasses on the bed. Occupying the space next to Mai, sunglasses were pushed by Hannah, who carefully folded them and took a seat on the edge of a huge double bed. I have nothing much to say. I saw him a few times. My parents like him a lot. Don't rush into this marriage. Be sure to get to know him well before you make a final decision. Yes, I know. I'm not a child anymore. The place where my sat became empty as she started walking around the room again. There is more about him than meets the eye. Our families are on good terms, but he was always known as a troublemaker. I understand your family is trying to regain some of their lost power, but it doesn't have to be rack. And being near the top gets tiresome. Always be careful and reassess the situation. Hannah thought for a second and said, "All right. For you, I will be extra careful." I smiled back but didn't say anything, as her hand glided over a row of books until it stopped, her finger pulling the top of an unusual book. Hannah jumped off the bed, like catapulted. "Oops," she exclaimed, her hand pushing the book back. "Not everything is for your eyes," she winked at her. Both of their heads turned when, along with the kids' laughter, Eris's voice echoed from downstairs. "Hannah, Dee, can you take care of the twins for a moment? I will send them to you." "No need, Mother. We will come downstairs." They looked at each other, and Mai followed her. While exiting her room, Hannah felt a sudden squeeze, Mai's finger wrapping around her arm tightly. "It's okay to say no if you feel like it. I will always support you." Hannah stared into her eyes, smiled, and said, "My protector," giving her a quick, innocent kiss on the cheek. The same voice echoed again, and they hurried downstairs only to see Eris's back as she rushed out of the house. Auntie, I have a new dog," said Hallie as she jumped into Mai's arms, and Han followed his sister, sticking to Mai's leg. "A dog? You got a new dog? What breed?" "He is very soft and kind, big eyes," Han said, pulling on her pants. "It's a plushie," Hannah clarified for Mai, her hands clasped behind her back as she unintentionally smiled at the scene. "Don't look at me like that. Don't you see how much they like you, Mai? They miss you, Anina. They don't like their new nanny as much." Unable to leave those tiny hands that clung to her, she stayed as much as she could. Looking all drained, her ponytail a mess, it was finally time for her to leave. She reached for her car door when Hannah asked, "And do you have anyone in mind?" winking. She turned around with an engaging smile. "When did you start to be noisy?" "Only my duty," and entered her black SUV. "You should find some time for romance." Hannah's voice rang out joyfully, hoping she would hear her. "Find time to relax." Inside the vehicle, a teeny smile drew across Mai's lips, accompanied by a slow head shake. The engine roared, and a small wave indicated their goodbye as both were left with something to think about. June 8th, Year 323, my apartment. Her face is already a blur. I don't remember her voice. Why do I still miss her?